Welcome to this explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here. Today, we're unpacking a true masterpiece of Victorian literature, Charles Dickens' Great Expectations. If you're a focused learner gearing up for an exam, or honestly, if you just want to grasp the intricate web of this incredible story without getting completely lost in hundreds of pages, you are in the exact right place. We're going to break down this classic novel using a highly structured, easy-to-follow approach. So let's dive right into this and make sure you walk away with a perfect, crystal clear understanding of every single crucial point. Here's our quick agenda for the session. We'll start with key facts and background, move into stage 1, Pip's childhood, then explore the London expectations, hit the benefactor plot twist, unravel the hidden truths and tragedies, and wrap up with the final resolution. Section 1, Key Facts and Background. Okay, if you take away just one major literary term from this explainer, make it this one, Bildungsroman. Great Expectations, which was written by the legendary Charles Dickens and published in the weekly magazine all the year round between 1860 and 1861, is essentially the ultimate Bildungsroman. Set in London and Kent, the entire narrative is anchored entirely on the psychological and moral growth of our main character. We literally watch him grow from a young boy into adulthood. It's a massive prose work dedicated entirely to his life's education. Section 2, Stage 1, Pip's childhood. So the crucial starting point for understanding Pip's early life is his environment. Our hero is a 7-year-old orphan named Philip Pirrip, though everyone famously just calls him Pip. He lives with his sister, who is 20 years older than him, and his home life is a stark, almost jarring contrast. On one side, you have his sister, Mrs. Joe. She is harsh, constantly angry, and incredibly quick to scold Pip for literally any mistake. But on the flip side, we have her husband, Mr. Joe. He's a blacksmith and just this incredibly kind, loving soul who acts as Pip's emotional anchor. He truly, deeply loves the boy. Well, Pip's little world gets completely turned upside down on Christmas Day. He's out visiting his parents' graves when he's suddenly grabbed by a terrifying, escaped convict named Magwitch. Under the threat of death, Magwitch issues 2 chilling demands. Pip has to bring him food and a file to cut his heavy iron chains. A terrified Pip runs home, steals pie and brandy meant for their Christmas party, and grabs a file right from Mr. Joe's forge. He hands them over to the convict, who silently promises to repay this massive kindness someday. Now, later on, Magwitch is actually caught by soldiers while fighting another escaped convict named Compasson, but to protect little Pip, Magwitch takes the fall and covers for the stolen food. Soon after that traumatic Christmas, Pip is introduced to an entirely different, almost surreal world, Satis House. This is the decaying, creepy home of Miss Havisham, a wealthy woman who is completely frozen in time. She was abandoned on her wedding day, so she still wears her old wedding dress and harbors a deep hatred for all men. She invites Pip over for one cruel reason, so her beautiful, extremely proud adopted daughter Estella can practice breaking boys' hearts. Estella calls Pip a commoner, insults his hands, his boots, everything. But the crazy part? Pip instantly falls desperately in love with her. This brilliant setup sparks Pip's absolute obsession. He no longer wants to be a common blacksmith. He wants to be a gentleman, all for Estella. Some time passes. Pip is now a teenager, working as an apprentice blacksmith under Mr. Joe, dealing with a bitter, dangerous coworker named Orlick, who actually violently attacks Mrs. Joe. But then, everything changes. A famous London lawyer named Mr. Jaggers suddenly arrives at the forge. Jaggers drops a bombshell. An anonymous benefactor wants to fund Pip's education in London to make him a gentleman of, you guessed it, great expectations. Pip instantly assumes his secret sponsor is the wealthy Miss Havisham. This completely fuels his grand illusion that she's making him rich so he can finally marry Estella. Section 3, The London Expectations. This part of the story brilliantly illustrates the core theme of the novel, expectation versus reality. Pip arrives in London, expecting this glamorous, pristine paradise. What he finds is a gritty, dirty, overwhelming city. But the real tragedy here is what happens to Pip on the inside. As he studies and hangs out with new friends like Herbert Pocket and the wealthy, arrogant Bentley Drummle, Pip's behavior entirely shifts. Honestly, he becomes a terrible snob. When the kind, humble Mr. Joe actually makes the trip to visit him in London, Pip is embarrassed by him. He's terrified Joe's lower-class background will ruin his shiny new social standing. Despite this serious moral decline, Pip's financial ascent just keeps going. By the time he turns 21, Pip starts receiving a massive annual allowance of £500 from his anonymous benefactor. Now, to put that in perspective, that was a huge amount of money back then. Showing a rare moment of actual goodness during his London years, Pip secretly takes a portion of this wealth to invest in his friend Herbert Pocket's business, helping secure his buddy's future. Section 4. The Benefactor Plot Twist. Okay, Pip is now 23 years old. One dark, stormy night, a figure from his past literally emerges from the shadows. It's the escaped convict, Magwitch. And here is the ultimate plot twist. Magwitch tells Pip that he was transported to Australia, where he worked hard and made an absolute fortune. And every single penny of it, it went to Pip. Magwitch risked the death penalty by sneaking back into England just to lay eyes on the gentleman he created. Pip's entire worldview shatters in an instant. Miss Havisham never intended for him to marry Estella. His wealth didn't come from aristocratic royalty at all. It came from a criminal he helped in a graveyard when he was just a little boy. Section 5. Hidden Truths and Tragedies. Now, keeping track of the climax is absolutely crucial for your exams, as all these hidden connections suddenly snap together like a giant puzzle. Pip realizes that Mr. Jagger's maid, a woman named Molly, is actually Estella's true biological mother. And who is the father? It's Magwitch, the convict. Jaggers had taken baby Estella and given her to Miss Havisham years ago. But wait, it goes deeper. Remember the second convict Magwitch was fighting in the graveyard way back in Chapter 1? Compson. While Magwitch reveals that Compson is the exact same smooth-talking conman who broke Miss Havisham's heart and left her at the altar all those years ago. Literally everything is connected. Confronted with all these crazy truths, Pip rushes back to Sada's house. Miss Havisham finally admits she manipulated him just to hurt her relatives. But seeing Pip's pain, she breaks down and shows genuine, heartbreaking remorse. Tragically, just shortly after this confession, her old wedding dress catches fire from the hearth. Pip bravely tries to save her, wrestling her to the ground, but she suffers severe burns and later dies from her injuries. And as if things weren't chaotic enough, Pip is then lured by a fake letter to a remote shack. It's an ambush by his old enemy, the worker Orlick, who attempts to murder him for revenge. Thankfully, Pip's friends track him down and arrive just in the nick of time to save his life. Surviving the ambush, Pip's sole focus now is saving Magwitch, because if the authorities find Magwitch, he will hang. So, Pip and Herbert devise a desperate, highly tense plan. The steps are incredibly risky. They need to secure a boat, row Magwitch down the River Thames themselves, intercept a large steamer heading to mainland Europe, and somehow evade the police, not to mention Compson, who has tipped the cops off and is actively hunting them. But despite their best efforts, the plan completely falls apart. Compson arrives on a police boat. In a furious, terrifying struggle in the dark water, Magwitch actually drowns Compson, but sustains severe injuries himself in the process. Magwitch is arrested, but the court doesn't even need to hang him. He is dying in the prison hospital. In his final moments, Pip sits by his side. Having truly grown to love this rough, broken man like a father, Pip whispers a beautiful secret to him. His daughter, Estella, is alive, she is beautiful, and Pip loves her. Hearing this, Magwitch dies, a peaceful, incredibly happy man. Section 6. The Final Resolution. Following Magwitch's death, Pip's fortune is forfeited to the crown. He loses all his wealth and falls deeply into debt, eventually falling severely ill. And who steps in to save him? The very man he was so embarrassed by, Mr. Joe. Joe pays off Pip's debts and gently nurses him back to health. Finally humbled and finally understanding the true value of love and honest work, Pip leaves England. He joins his friend Herbert in Egypt, working hard as a clerk for 11 long, quiet years. When Pip finally returns to Kent, after more than a decade, he finds that Joe has married Biddy, his kind childhood friend, and they have a beautiful, happy family. Pip then takes a quiet walk to the ruined, overgrown grounds of Sada's house, and there, standing in the ruins, he finds Estella. Her abusive husband, Bentley Drummle, recently died in an accident. She is now widowed, completely humbled by her own suffering, and truly sorry for how she treated Pip all those years ago. In a quiet, deeply emotional moment, they hold hands as they leave the ruins, resolving their complicated, painful past with the promise that they will never part again. And that brings us to the end of our structural breakdown. As you prepare to write about this masterpiece, I want to leave you with one final thought-provoking question to chew on. Did Pip's great expectations give him the life he originally wanted, or did they give him the harsh moral lessons he truly needed to become a good man? Think about that for your exams. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.